Good day, people. This is Reverend Cecilia Jacobs coming to you from the Awareness Church Outreach Messages. These are intro prompts into the video topic, Suicide is a Lie. I am trying to go back and give you an intro because I had to break down the video, the length of it. I had to break it down and put it in like four parts. So that you can hear it in its entirety. And I just want to make sure that you understand that there are some topics or areas that I'm not explaining. I'm a pretty much laid back person when I talk about subjects. And I gave some base scriptures that you can just lean on those and then add to them if you like. And they are listed in the last frame on part 4, and it is mentioned, some of these scriptures are mentioned in probably the first and second videos. So if you want to catch them, you can wait till you can just look up part 4 and get those scriptures. But I would admonish you to just please listen to each part 1 through part 4. And so I'm putting these little intro prompts in here with me talking to you like I am right now, to let you know that that's what's going on. And so I'm going to try to give you a prompt in just before at the split of each video, okay, to let you know that this is part 2 and that this is part 3, okay. And I also want to make mention that there were some things that I had caught that I had said, and if you find anything that you have a question of, you can always email me and ask me, and I will certainly give you the answer. Okay. I wrote something down, because as I was listening, reviewing and cutting and editing, I wrote down, some things that jumped out at me that I didn't explain. But if you pick it up and you want to know more about it, just ask me to correct it or ask me to clarify it or whatever. And be nice. I'm not no professional producer. I am who I am by the blood of the Lamb, as God says who I am. Okay, so I'm not perfect. This is not my career. God asked me to get on social media to share videos and things of that nature of my life and of the Word of God, experiences, events that has actually happened, and to help people in a more relaxed atmosphere outside of the church, in your own private setting, so that you may benefit as well and add to your understanding of God and His Word in this world and us as mankind, okay? And dealing with all the things that we deal with that, involves our relationship with God, a relationship with others, and with ourselves, okay? I'm just going to read real quick something that I jotted down. Okay, an example of something that God does for us. Like in my case, I'm using myself as an example. My natural father did not take proper care of me. He was the abuser, okay, that I mentioned. But God did. God was there. Even while I was being abused, I experienced God, the Father, being there in the midst of the abuse. And I know that may be hard for some people to understand. Why didn't God? I already explained that if you listen to the video, why God did not. And even, my dad died when I was 10, so God answered it, believe me. God took care of it. Plus, He became the Father that I never knew, that I should have had. God became the Father that I had to get to know. But God had to remove a wall that I couldn't get past in the spirit because of the damage that was done. So God does take care of us. But you have to learn God in a relationship with him. You can't just try to figure it out in your head. You'll never get there. You got to give your life to God and let him get into you, into your heart, into your spirit, and he will help you figure it out and walk it out. Okay? Some other things that came up that stood out to me was I didn't go into detail about other high issues of suicide events. I mentioned that there was like sexual child abuse, things of that nature. Any kind of relational abuse is very damaging to children. So if it happened in your childhood, it's going to follow you lifelong, I'm telling you. And even though God can heal and deliver and make you able and stable, hallelujah, okay, and victorious in this life, it will be there. Because like I said, if you listen to the video, God's not going to take everything away on this side of heaven. Some of this stuff we just got to walk through. We here for a reason, y'all, and how you make it through this life. So escaping it through suicide, it's so many no's around that. It's just not right, okay? So saved people, Christians, I'm talking to you in particularly, and unbelievers can gain understanding from listening to this as well, you know, but God will make you able to triumph in this life on this side of heaven. And you already got the victory in heaven, so you ain't got to worry about getting to heaven if you give your life to God now, because that's the way it works. Okay? So I didn't mention that, I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't mention that the high issues of suicidal events can also come from mental health issues. Like I told you, I studied that. I have a degree in it. But this is a secular explanation. If you listen to mental health people talk about suicide, and you know, they're going to tell you that that's what causes the that's the secular explanation to suicides. Okay, they used to blame the church. They used to blame what the church did to people caused people to become suicidal, especially with the LGBTQ, but with other issues as well, you know. And I'm not saying that the church was totally innocent. The church was ignorant on things. And as they learned and allowed God to change them, because, hello, there are unsaved and sick people in the church who are getting healed and getting delivered and getting set free and getting the understanding of God, getting a relationship with God. And this is how they come out on the better end. And as time goes by, things get better, just like everything else in this world, you know, that's trying to get to the best thing, the best part of life, which is God. And when they get there, on their way there, God is changing and making things better. So the church knows more today than it's ever knew. Okay? For them to have a mind to know, to seek God. Okay? Those that are in churches who are not really seeking God, they're stuck somewhere in the past. Wherever they died on the vine at, they stuck there. Okay? And until they want to allow God to come in and wake up, he's moving on, you know, to those who do seek him. Okay? So the truth of the matter is, that's secular society's explanation of suicidal events, and the sickness or events of suicidal or explanation of suicide is mental health issues. Can't blame everything on mental health issues. There's another answer there too. Okay, and I'm trying to tell you that it really is a spiritual issue. Because if a person is broken in their spirit, everything else is going to get broke. Because that's the spirit of a person is who they are. It's who they are. And that's the part of the person that goes back to God. The spirit and the soul goes back to God. So if it's all broken up in there, then who knows what you're going to see on the outside. Yeah, we got ways of telling what's there and what's not there, and you know the difference between the two of sickness, like a disease, just like if you have a bodily disease. If it's a spiritual issue that caused that to get kicked up, or if a spiritual issue gets into a disease is of the devil. It's a spiritual thing. It manifests itself in the natural, in the physical. So we get sicknesses, illnesses, and diseases, and we die in this clay body. But the spirit and the soul of the person does not die. It returns to God. So I'm telling you, it's a spiritual issue, okay? Soul gets jacked up by the enemy because he gets in there and tries to mess things up. But when you're saved, you know, God can intervene and the person can respond to God. But when you're not saved, you can't respond to God, okay? And basically you stop, you know, and you never know when that's going to happen. It's just like you don't know when you're going to die. So if you oops and die tonight and you don't know God, you're going to hell. No apologies necessary. No explanations more than that is necessary. And pray over what I'm saying and ask God to make this make sense to you. Put the pieces in their proper places is what my prayer is for you today. So I'm interjecting here to tell you some of these things that I heard, you know, when I was reviewing the video. Okay, the whole full length, 4 parts of the video. So as I said, it's a spiritual thing. And when you don't deal with that spiritual thing, you can't save the person. They still, you can help them get over, you know, and get stabilized, maybe their mental health while they're here. But without God, when they leave here, they're on their way to eternal damnation. They're on their way to hell. So I don't care how nice they were. Nice don't get you into heaven. Being a good person and doing good things don't get you into heaven. There's only one way, and that's the way of the Lord and His Word. And you have to accept that. Or just accept the fact that you're not going to heaven. And the hell that you may have lived or didn't really live so badly, maybe on this earth, you're going to get the full of it after you leave here without God, okay? And that's the picture that you need to know. That's what you really need to know. Because, I mean, why would you want to go if you've been through anything? And most people have been through something. But, I mean, if you've been through anything on this earth, why in the world would you want to leave here without God, who is the only one who's going to judge your life? You know, who is the only one that's got a heaven and a hell to put you in. Okay? And God is not waiting, ha, 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 I'm putting you in hell. He's not like that. You choose to be there. You may not think you're choosing, but not choosing Jesus now on this life, in this life, on this earth, is choosing hell for later. And some hell while you're here. Okay? So, it matters. It all matters. Let me see. I'm looking in here because I told you throughout each video that the devil is the one who wants to ruin people's lives, not God. You know, and so therefore God is not going to. And the devil came here to kill, steal, and destroy. And with Christians, he tries to trick them out of their understanding of God so that they will do things that the unbelievers do, like suicide, and kill themselves thinking that I'm going to heaven anyway. It's a lie. The devil came to trick you, Christian person, to get you to give up your life. And one thing about the devil, he does it in that way so many times, probably because it works so well for him. You know, to get people to do themselves in. The devil ain't got to reach down and put his hands on you, blah, blah, blah. He gets you. He talks you into it. He persuades you. He influences you. He tricks you. He traps you into giving up your life in so many different ways. Okay? And you just got to know that this is true. Especially Christians, please wake up. Please wake up to this. You got to know who your enemy is. And you don't got to talk about the devil this, the devil that, whatever. But you better know him. You better know the enemy. And you know the enemy by knowing God. The more you know, the closer you are in God, the deeper you are in the things of God, the ways of God, the life of God as a Christian, a born again believer through Christ Jesus, you will know the ways of the enemy, because God will show you his own ways in you, and you'll see how it combats and wars with the enemy of your soul, which is the devil. And you'll learn from the things that you go through exactly who God is and exactly who the devil is and how they work. Okay? Because that's the real life. That's the real spiritual life. All right? Thanks for listening. You are now ending part 1, and we're going on to part 2. And it's just going to pick up right in the conversation. Thank you. This is Reverend Cece. Good day, people. I'm sees and things of that nature, and it had gotten to the part where I was actually going to act on it, and God stopped it. Okay, so I did actually act on it in the end, the last time it happened to me, and I have to say it's been, I'm trying to think if it's probably been more than 20 years ago. Okay, I would have to figure it out to tell you what year it was and stuff, but it really doesn't, that part doesn't matter. What matters is that it was happening in my life. It was happening in my life in that year, and God stopped it, and then it came back again following, like, maybe 3 years later. We had moved from an apartment townhome where it was happening at. And then it began happening to me again in about 3 years after we moved from there to our first home. We moved into a home. I was married, 2 children, was raising a stepchild as well. And so I think that I'm probably going to be jumping around a little bit here, because I'm thinking about some of the things that people said, and I want to address them, because some people said some things like a lot of people who commit suicide have done it, thought about it and then done it, like that, and that there was not a long period of time in between. And I'm sure that it may seem like that, but I don't think so. I think that whatever kicked this off into that person's life, that placed them in a place where suicidal ideations was coming up on them, other related things to suicide, whether there was someone else in the family who ever did it, or whether there was depression or other mental health issues that were plaguing on that person's life, or abuses, okay? Many types of abuses that can happen to people can trigger depression and other, anxieties and things like that. But a lot of times is, things like that are relational, okay? So, but the highest one is sexual abuse that I have seen related across the board of mental health. Then I would say after that would be physical abuse or neglect, and I'm talking about stuff that happens in the first family of your life, or that child's life, their first family. And when it happens in childhood, it traumatizes that person's life, and so they're constantly getting over or contending with the fallout from what happened to them. They might have gotten up, and was able to walk away from the abuse and go on and live a seemingly normal life, okay? And when I say normal, just the normal things that everybody do in their life. You grow up, you go to school, you go off to college, you don't go off to college, or you get jobs, and you go on with your life, and you remain single, or you get married, or just the normal stuff. Okay, it affects you so relationally, especially when it's not healed, when it's not delivered, when it's not dealt with. And most of the time, that's the way it goes down. People don't get it dealt with, because they are able to hold a job down, or they're able to go to school, or they're able to have relationships in their lives. But if you really look closely at these areas, there are problems there. There are problems that they're experiencing, and they go from one problem to the next. And after a while, you either learn how to cope with it, or you learn how to clean up your messes, of these problematic areas in your life, and you go on. It's been reported that a lot of times people are loners, in these situations, or they're very charismatic people, and they just a hot mess all the time, from one thing to the next. And it's all relational, okay? And so they have problems not only in their social life and family life, with other loved ones and stuff, or they have problems, or they have problems on their jobs, any places where they have to contend with relationships up close and personal and ongoing, okay? Where they really don't have a whole lot of ability to do anything about it. They have to be at a job, or they have to be in this group of people, or they have to work with this or that, people type of situation. So those things are affected. And as a person who was suicidal in my past, and it was only I want to say it was only in my adult life, but when I was a very young child, I used to have visitations with God. I'm not going to get into all of that for you right now. Just believe me, I have testimonies of it, and you don't have to believe me if you don't want to, but I'm just using it to tell you that I remember I used to go on these walks with God to heaven. He used to take me on walks to heaven because I was being abused during that time. And I used to sit and rock, and rock with my eyes closed. And while I was doing that, I would go on walks with God. He would come and take me by the hand, and we'd walk the streets of gold. I had not even seen a Bible before, but I know that's what I saw, okay? And God told me, because I told God, I said, I don't want to be here anymore. Why am I here? Why am I in this earth is what I was asking God. I said, I don't want to be here. I don't belong here. I don't live here. I knew that this place, the world, was not my home. As a child, I knew this. And I was about 5 when I was having those, because I was in, I'm trying to remember, probably was about 6, because I was in kindergarten before we moved to this other house, and we spent a lot of years at this last house. So I was in kindergarten before that. I was in 1st grade when we moved there. So I was having dreams at that time about that at that age. And God was, they weren't dreams. They were actually open visions, because I was not asleep. I had my eyes closed. I was rocking. If you know what rocking is, it's a movement back and forth on my mom's sofa, mom and dad's sofa. And so I used to do that a lot. It was like a habit, or maybe it was a nervous habit or something. I don't know. It comforted me. And so I used to do that. Okay, I found out that other abused children do that as well. Later in life, I found that out. But it was during those times, and God told me that I couldn't come home. He said, "You're right. This is not your home." He said, "This is your home." And he was talking about heaven. where we were walking down the streets of gold. And he was telling me that I couldn't go home yet because it was not my time to come home yet, and that I had stuff to do in the world. I still had things to do on earth, and so I couldn't come home yet. And so I took it as a meeting with God, that where God was helping me to get through the abusive nature of my life and what I was going through, and him giving me strength to know that I had a purpose to be here for, and to just hold on, and that one day I would be coming back home to be with him, where my real home was. So I think that the abuse, as it was going on, was causing severe damage, to the point where, I was called names by my siblings, the strange one, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it's not that people don't see that something's going on with the child or the person. It's just they don't know what to do about it. They're not sure what to do about it. Even if they've been through it themselves, because I knew there was people around me that knew what I was going through, but couldn't help me. And yet they were adults. They couldn't help me. And of course I couldn't tell anybody at that time, because I was told that something bad would happen to me, and something bad would happen to my dad, blah, 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 or the family, blah, blah, blah.